Okay, morning guys, welcome back to Fox Speed Shop. Tim here. It's a freezing cold winter morning, and what we're trying to do today is to get the carpet back in. Apologies, the filming is probably not going to be all that good today because my hands are freezing cold, and there's going to be quite a bit of time lapse of fitting carpet, which is not the most interesting thing. But what I really want to show a lot of you is some of the ins and outs of actually getting the thing in the first place, because obviously what you've got here, I say obvious, it will become more obvious, is you have a throttle pedal and the carpet goes all the way around here and up behind there. Throttle pedal gets in the way. You have gear stick, you have starter, and you have choke and handbrake, and you've got to get it past all of those. And at the same time, what you want to try and do is velcro it double-sided on the back here and sort of around to try and get the thing to stay stuck in. So hopefully you'll actually be able to see a little bit of that today, presuming I can wedge some of the doors open and actually get it in, and we'll see what it looks like, flip the gear sticks around and a few other little bits. Not going to take it for a drive today because it's freezing cold, and the battery's been sitting in the garage for so long that it's managed to lose a little bit of its charge. So I'm going to pull it out and charge it up properly, and maybe when I can feel my fingers we can go for a little bit of a celebratory I now have a carpet drive. Well, hopefully we've got a relatively decent shooting angle here. Might give you a bit of vertigo looking down like that. Anyway, what we're going to do first is we're going to put on some of the double-sided velcro here. So this is just your bog standard industrial hook and loop velcro. Other brands are available, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in places where I know the carpet sags. Now I'm going to be doing the side that I'm sitting on, the driver's side first, but what you'll probably be able to see better is if I point over here. We have just in front of the wheel arch, on this A panel, kick panel, whatever you want to refer it to, the carpet tends to sag off there because there's no actual retaining clips up there. So what we'll do is we'll put it down there. We'll also put a little bit, probably just down here in front of the in the footwells, just to ensure that it doesn't slide up and get up under your feet and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit at the back here. The parts underneath the doors, if you can see just down here, are going to be held in place mainly by the aluminium trim that sits along underneath there. What I'll also do in a moment is mark out on the carpet, well, I've done it in advance, but I'll tell you how I did it, where we're going to place the hole for the throttle pedal to stick through, and then you'll see it's really a case of rotating the carpet around what seems like about 50 million times to actually get it to sit correctly in place. So as you might expect, what we'll do is just measure the length of this velcro that's needed to do those two main parts. Chop this up. And we can then put it in place. I mean, I'm sure you know how to stick something on, so I'm not going to show you how to stick something on. You can just see that once it's finished. We'll get that on there. I'd advise you probably don't do this in -1 as it is today, because the stickiness of the glue on the back of this isn't as great as it should be. Hopefully it'll be good enough to do the job and keep it stuck, and as the temperature warms up it might actually stick a little bit better. So more of a spring-summer job, I'd suggest, if you're planning on using glue. So all of these carpets, regardless of where you get them from, this one was sourced for me by Autobella, they're all one moulded piece. You can see they're plastic backed, nice carpet front, and so they're quite stiff in terms of how they have to fold around, but they do keep their shape nicely. There's no sort of cutting and overlaying and stuff like that. So what you get in terms of a nicely fitted carpet at the end you've got that trade-off of it being quite difficult to actually get in the first place. Because it's quite stiff, you find popping it around things like the gear stick, popping it around the handbrake lever and down into the footwell here can be quite a challenge. What I'll try and do is, as I say, shoot through the door, and we'll time lapse this so you can see how this goes. In terms of how I actually cut the hole for, get this up here, cut the hole for the throttle pedal, which is just here, just a slice in there. All I did was I laid it in place and I took some measurements of where the fold is. You'll see when it's installed just in front of where the footrest is, and sort of the reinforcement part there is a fold line, and you can use that because it sits nicely against the fold line in the footwell, and you can use that as like a datum point to work out where you're going to slice for your throttle pedal hole to go through. All the other holes, in case I forgot to mention, are all pre-cut, with the exception of where we're going to mark out and fit the seat belts. Because obviously not all the cars would have seat belts in, depending on your country of origin and the year your car was made. There's no pre-cut holes for there. And again, if you're using lap belts or 3-point belts, you might have things set up slightly differently. There's space for the seat runners again, which you'll see at the seat runners will come through there nicely. So these are nice bits of kit. They're quite pricey, but I think well worth it. And this is a lusso carpet, so this matches the door cards. As I said in the previous video, this is an F, but it does have at least part of a lusso interior, because I quite like the colour and how it sits against the blue that we chose for the exterior. Okay, so there's the carpet installed. As you can see, it was a little bit of a battle in places, but sits quite nicely around everything that it needs to. So we've got the gear stick, which I've got another surround for, tidy all of that up. It's not quite so neat around the gear stick and the starter, but that's mainly because it's designed for a car that does have a centre console in there, so that would be covered up, but I don't look too bad. Fitted nicely around the throttle pedal, no huge gashes, that'll sit nicely there. Looks like I cut my tape a little bit large, so I'll just trim that down a bit, but we've got it sitting nicely around the door sills here. Still get covered up with aluminium trim, and what doesn't will be glued down with some more of that Velcro. So that will just take a little bit of trial and error, and we will do that after I've fitted the gear stick surround. Okay, so the reason why I left this so long to actually fit was because what I wanted to make sure was that I got the gearbox adjusted completely, so I didn't have to pull the carpet out too many times. What there is it's on the opposite side, on my side here, there's 2 bolts that can be used to slide the transaxle, the linkage selector for the transaxle, forwards and backwards to ensure that you can get into all gears. I had to do a little bit of fiddling with that to make sure that I could engage all 4, but now that I can, and reverse, now that I can, I'm happy to leave it as it is. But it's a little bit of an eyesore with this gaping hole around here. So what I've got, just take the gear knob off there, nice 2-part Selector Boot. There's a few different versions of these that you can buy. Honestly, I forget where this one came from, but it's a short round one. They do a longer version, they probably do a squarer one, and it's got a metal cover on there, kind of a reinforcement plate. So I'll pop that through there, and then what we can do is align all the holes, a little bit of a fiddle, get this boot over here. Now what I have done is I've already pre-drilled or pre-enlarged the holes in here to accept some of these, which I've used all around the car. These are just hex-headed screws, an M10 head. I don't actually know the size of the screw, some of you out there probably will, but it's a screw with an M10 head and a built-in washer, and it's quite nice in terms of what it looks like. It's stainless steel, and it will look quite nice and shiny in the car, to match some of the shiny bolts that I've used anywhere there's exposed hardware. So we'll just get this lined up. Somebody has to go through the carpet. So because some of these holes are going to be blind, I'm going to fit 2 of them that I can see here, and I'm going to use those to set the alignment for everything else. So once 2 are in, it shouldn't move. Okay, so we've got 2 of them lined up there, which means hopefully the rest will line up. They do have to go through the carpet, so they're going to be a little stiffer. There we have it. One nicely aligned and set up gear stick boot. As you can see, it engages gears. Looks quite nice in there, just tidies it up a little bit. Those of you familiar with these Fiats, by the way, might notice that this seems to have had what I can only just describe as an Italian boy racer short shift mod, where in order to try and make the shift shorter, they haven't done what you should do and actually change the pivot point down here so that you've got a longer rod on the bottom and a short one at the top. All they've done is make it harder to shift by cutting the top of the gear shift down. That's a nice easy shift, so it doesn't actually make too much difference, but I'd advise you not to do that. If you're going to do a short shift, do a short shift properly. Okay, well, all that remains is to put the seats back in and maybe hoover the carpet, but we'll leave it there. So a bit of a shorter one today, as I say, just a single job, but if you enjoy some of this content, if you enjoy the Fiats, if you enjoy some of the hot rod stuff, then like, subscribe, drop me a message, whatever you want to do. I'll take any sort of comments off anyone. I wouldn't ever claim to be the be all and end all of knowledge of Fiat 500s, but I will look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Depending on how long it takes for me to shoot it, we may have had our new arrival. We've got another 500F coming over from Sicily in the next couple of weeks. I'll be the first UK owner of that. It's going to be a little mini resto, which I'll sort of take you through some of the tidying up of that project, and then it will be up for sale. So if you see it and you fancy buying a nice 500F that's just come over from the continent, then please hit me up with a message.